Edward's Day Out. Once upon a time, there was a little engine called Edward. He lived in a shed with 5 other engines. They were all bigger than Edward and boasted about it. "The driver won't choose you again," they said. "He wants big, strong engines like us." Edward began to feel sad. He had not been out in a long time. The driver looked at Edward. "Why are you sad?" he asked. "Would you like to come out today?" "Oh, yes, please," said Edward. So they lit his fire and made lots of steam. Then the driver pulled the lever and Edward puffed away. "Peep, peep," he whistled. "Look at me now." The other engines were very cross at being left behind. Away went Edward to collect some coaches. "Be careful, Edward," said the coaches. "Don't bump us and bang us like all the other engines." So Edward came up to the coaches very carefully and the shunter fastened the coupling. "Thank you, Edward," said the coaches. "That was very kind. We're glad you're taking us today." Then they went to the station where the people were waiting. "Peep, peep," whistled Edward. "Get in quickly, please." So the people got in quickly, and Edward waited happily for the guard to blow his whistle and wave his green flag. He waited and waited. There was no whistle and no green flag. "Where is that guard?" Edward was getting anxious. The driver and the fireman went to ask the station master. "Have you seen the guard?" they asked. "No," he said. They went to ask the porter. "Have you seen the guard?" "Yes." "Really?" "Well, last night, anyway," said the porter. Edward began to get cross. "Are we ever going to start?" Just then a little boy shouted, "Here he comes!" There was the guard, running down the platform with his flags in one hand and a sandwich in the other. He ran onto the platform, blew his whistle, and jumped into his van. They puffed on. Edward did have a happy day. All the children waved as he went past, and they met old friends at the station. He worked so hard, the driver promised to take him out again the next day. "I'm going out again tomorrow," he told the other engines that night in the shed. "What do you think of that?" But he didn't hear what they thought, for he was so tired and happy, he fell asleep at once. Edward and Gordon. One of the engines in Edward's shed was called Gordon. He was very big and very proud. "You watch me this afternoon, little Edward," he boasted, "as I rush through with the express. That will be a splendid sight for you." Just then his driver pulled the lever. "Goodbye, little Edward," Gordon called, as he puffed away. "Look out for me this afternoon." Edward went off too, to do some shunting. Edward liked shunting. It was fun playing with the trucks. He would come up quietly and give them a pull. "Oh, oh, oh," screamed the trucks. Whatever is happening, then he would stop. The silly trucks would go bump into each other. "Oh, oh, oh." Edward pushed them until they were going nicely. When they weren't expecting it, he stopped. The trucks would go bump into each other and would run into another line. Edward played until there were no more trucks. Then he stopped to have a rest. Presently, he heard a whistle. Gordon came puffing along, very slowly and very cross. Instead of nice shiny coaches, he was pulling a long line of very dirty coal trucks. "A goods train, a goods train, the shame of it, oh, the shame of it." He went slowly, the trucks clattering and banging behind him. Edward laughed and went to go find some more trucks. Soon, the porter walked up to him and spoke to his driver. "Gordon can't get up the hill. Would you take Edward and push him, please?" "Right away. Come on, Edward." They found Gordon at the bottom of a hill. Edward coupled up, while his driver and fireman were talking to Gordon severely. "I can't do it," said Gordon. "You're not trying," they told him. "Noisy trucks hold an engine back so. If they were coaches now, clean, sensible things that come quietly, that would be a different story." Edward's driver came up. "We've come to push," he said. "No use at all." "You wait and see, you stubborn engine," said Edward's driver. "I'm ready," said Edward. "No good," grumbled Gordon from the front of the train. The guard blew his whistle. They pulled and pushed as hard as they could. "I can't do it," puffed Edward. "I will do it," puffed Edward. "I can't do it. I will do it. I can't do it. I will do it. I will do it." Edward pushed and puffed and pushed and puffed as hard as he could. And almost before he'd realised it, they were at the top. "I've done it, I've done it, I've done it." Gordon didn't even wait to say thank you to Edward. Edward passed through a station. Gordon had raced off so fast and Edward had been left behind. The guard waved and waved, but Edward couldn't catch up. He stopped at the next station, triumphant and very, very tired. The fireman gave him a long drink of water, and the driver said, "I'll get my blue paint out tomorrow and give you a beautiful new coat of your blue paint and some red stripes as well. Then you'll be the smartest engine in the shed." The sad story of Henry. Once an engine attached to a train was afraid of a few drops of rain. It went into a tunnel and squeaked through its funnel, and wouldn't come out again. The engine's name was Henry. His driver and fireman argued with him, but he wouldn't move. He said, No, I shan't come out. So there, the rain will spoil my lovely green paint with red stripes. No." The guard blew his whistle until he had no more breath, and waved his flag until his arms ached. But Henry stayed in the tunnel. Go away! Go away! I'm not going to spoil my lovely green paint and red stripes for you." The passengers came and argued too, but Henry wouldn't move. No, leave me alone." A fat director came and argued with Henry. "Fetch a rope, why don't you?" said the fat director. "Right now, Henry, we will pull you out." But Henry only blew steam at him and made him wet. "Leave me alone." They hooked the rope on, and all pulled, except for the fat controller. "My doctor has forbidden me to pull, don't you know?" They pulled and pulled and pulled, but Henry stayed in the tunnel. Then they tried pushing from the other end. The fat controller said 1, 2, 3, push. They pushed and pushed and pushed. The fat director said, "My doctor has forbidden me to push." Henry still stayed in the tunnel. At last, another train came. The guard waved his red flag and stopped it. The engine drivers and firemen went and argued with Henry. "Look, Henry, it stopped raining," they said. "Yes, but it will start again soon. What will happen to my lovely green paint and red stripes then?" So they got the other engine up. It pushed and pushed and puffed and puffed. It pushed as hard as it ever could have. But Henry still stayed in the tunnel. So they gave up, and the fat director told Henry, "We will leave you here for always and always and always." They took up the old rails in front of Henry and cut a new tunnel through the hill, and they built a wall in front of him. Now Henry can't get out, and he watches trains rush through the new tunnel, and he's sad, because no one will ever see his lovely green paint with red stripes again. I think he deserved it. Don't you? Edward, Gordon, and Henry. Edward and Gordon often went through the tunnel where Henry was shut up. Edward would say, "Peep, peep, hello." And Gordon would say, "Poop, poop serves you right." Poor Henry had no steam to answer. His fire had gone out, soot and dirt from the tunnel roof had spoiled his lovely green paint and red stripes. He was cold and unhappy, and wanted to come out and pull trains too. Gordon always pulled the express and would race past. There were lots of heavy coaches filled with important people, like the fat director who punished Henry. Gordon was seeing how fast he could go. "Hurry, hurry, hurry," he said. Trickety trock," sang the coaches. Gordon could see Henry's tunnel in front and thought to himself, "In a minute I'll just go poop poop at Henry," and rushed through out into the open. Closer and closer he came when whoosh! Gordon was in a cloud of steam and going slower until his train stopped. "What has happened to me?" said Gordon. "I feel so weak." "You've burst your safety valve," said the driver. "You can't pull the train anymore." "Oh dear, we were going so nicely too." "Darn." Gordon made a face at Henry and blew smoke at him. The fat director said, "Humph, never liked these big engines. Always going wrong. Send for another engine at once." Whilst the guard went to find one, they uncoupled Gordon and he ran onto a siding, out of the way. The only other engine left in the shed was Edward. "I'll come and try," said Edward. Gordon saw Edward back onto the coaches. "He's no use. Edward can't pull a train." Edward puffed and puffed and pulled, but he couldn't pull the heavy coaches. "I told you so," said Gordon rudely. "Why not let Henry try?" "Good idea," said the fat controller. "Will you help Edward to pull the train?" said the fat director. "Oh, yes," said Henry at once. So Gordon's driver and fireman lit his fire. Some plate layers broke down the wall and put back the rails. When he had steam, Henry puffed out. His boiler was dirty and covered in cobwebs. "Oh, I'm so stiff, he groaned. Henry came and coupled up to the train. "Peep, peep," said Edward, "I'm ready." "Peep, peep, peep," said Henry, "so am I." "Pull hard, pull hard, pull hard." We'll do it, puffed Henry. We'll pull hard, we'll do it, pull hard, we'll do it, pull hard, we'll do it. They puffed together. Gordon was astounded. We've done it together, said Henry. You've done it, hooray, said the coaches. The fat director leaned out the window and waved at the two engines as they raced along. They were going so fast his hat blew off where a goat ate it for his tea. They never stopped until they reached the big station. When they reached the big station at the end of the line, the passengers all got out and said thank you, and the fat director promised to give Henry a new coat of paint. "I'll give you a new coat of green paint and red stripes." "Yes, please," said Henry. "I'll look good as new, and I won't stop in a tunnel this time." Edward and Gordon went home quietly. Along the way, they stopped back to help Gordon out of the tunnel siding. The two are now very good friends. Henry doesn't mind the rain now. He knows now that the best way to keep his paint dry but to ask his driver for a rub down once the day's work is done. The end. Wow, those stories were amazing, Edward. Thank you, Thomas. Do you have any more? Well, I have a couple, but it's been a long day. I'd like to have a rest. Okay, Edward. Good night. Good night, Thomas.